New edition, Ian.
Very nice.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company Sunday Car Service. This is our show where we have Mr. Ian Hartup giving us a rundown on what's new in the world of automobile modelling. And I do declare, Ian, it's a bumper show tonight because Toy Fair.
Yeah, Suzuka in Japan. Well, their show started on, I believe, Wednesday, and it's still running. As far as I'm aware, I've seen some pictures from. They're quite good day. They have a press day and a trade day, and then they have a couple of days. And it's generally the Saturday and Sunday where the general public can go in and you get club displays as well as the. So, it seems a really quite a cool setup. It's something I've all along wanted to get to, if only just to wander around and take in the atmosphere, because apparently it's a phenomenal event. But yeah, you do find that some of the major Far Eastern brands do their new model launches and things, mainly focused around automotive subjects. We don't tend to see a lot, from what I gather, I might be wrong, of the military and aviation stuff released there. But yeah, this year a couple of the newer, bigger players have kind of kicked the ball out of the ground with some of their new releases. We'll get to them in a minute, but there's some absolute corkers on this list for today. So yeah, I'm one or two of which are making me a very excited, Ian, because there's a couple of my longer term dream models in there which have finally come to fruition. We'll see.
Shall we do catch ups on projects before we go into the news? Shall we? Right, you first.
Okay, I've got obviously I've got a couple of these Audis on the new B-Max Audis on the go at the minute, which are for FX Model World, and I'm declining. I'm not going to show them tonight because they're nearly finished, and I'm fiddling with seatbelts, and there's nothing worse. It looks a right mess at the minute. But whilst I've been doing that, I've been building this little beauty. This is Hasegawa's BNR 32. So this is a Skyline, and this is a car as raced in Macau in 1990 by Hasemi Racing, who are the big Nissan. They weren't a works team at that time. They were involved with Calsonic in the Japanese Grand Touring Car Championship. In fact, I believe they still are. But this car is a bit of a legend. This one absolutely annihilated all comers at Macau in 1990. It really was the ultimate of its era for racing Skylines, and this is a newer Hasegawa kit. Let me just zoom out a little bit. So it's quite a recent release. It's got white primer on it, so I'm sorry if it's glaring up on the camera there a little bit. It's a Castrol sponsored car, and I don't have the box lid to hand to show you, but I've been working mainly on that, which is the chassis for it. There's a lot of careful masking and multiple color spraying on this. It's not massively high on the parts count, but it's very nicely detailed, and the instructions call out the masking and everything very carefully. I will say, not a lot of use with the markers on this. I've deliberately gone back to my older way of doing stuff, simply because I like this kit, and I wanted to try and build it as the manufacturer intended. There are some very nice little tricks on this one. The front bumper is on like a click-in ratchet at the front. So there's a wedged opening. So you push it in and it locks in here on both sides. And then there's 4 very substantial pins that push back into a grill section here. So from an engineering point of view, I don't want to take it apart and break it, so you'll excuse me for that. But yeah, absolutely fabulous. Really nicely detailed. They've been clever. The tailgate is actually a separate part to allow you, because there's variations of where the fuel fillers go on the back of these, and also variations on the rear wing. So yeah, lovely kit. Really, really nice kit. I might have another actually couple of these to build in different schemes. Yeah, I'm rather enjoying that one. They've got something else on the bench in a minute, but that comes into a later conversation, so I'll draw that over when we're ready.
Okie dokie. I've just got to do a little bit of housekeeping here, because we've got an interloper has joined the chat, and I'm just going in there to boot them out. So there we go. Right. We meanwhile. I have been playing catch up on some old projects, and chief of which, well, two, one of which I've got to get finished for Telford. This, I know people are going to be rolling their eyes and saying, "You've not finished that yet, JM." This is the replica of the Green Machine, my beloved former Rover Mini, being built as a semi kind of replica of what the car was like for me. So as you might be able to see there, I'll see if I can zoom in. There are patches of red primer around the edges there, because that's what the floor was like. I was constantly painting red primer to try and keep the rust at bay. There is also down the front, just there is a weld patch with weld seams on it. That is absolutely what was on my car, and the seats were black with red stripes on, which is how I've recreated that there. And then we've got, oops daisy, then we've got the Union flag decal that was on the roof, which through some bizarre quirk of I don't know what's happened, but I put the paint on a little bit too heavy, and it started to crack in a couple of areas.
Oh.
Exactly like the roof of my Mini, which is bizarre. So little bit untidy around the edges, but we're not going to hide it with mud, Ian. We're going to hide it with moss, because on my Mini, the gutter around the edge there just used to fill up with moss. So, but I am quite happy with the shiny finish on it. In fact, that's probably not so shiny on that side, but probably more shiny than the actual car was in real life. So thank you for your advice on that. That has been absolutely brilliant. So we will get that finished at some stage, but it's a back burner project. What I have been, oops, let's zoom out again. Zoom out. What I have been trying to get a wiggle on with is this, which has to be built for Telford, has to be finished for Telford, and it's the Italeri X SE Ford Escort Zaxby GR2. So essentially, we've now got most of the components are the sub-assemblies are all painted now. It's just a case of getting round and doing the final paint scheme. We did have fun today. I'm just going through the searches box. Here we go. We did have fun today, and I did post this onto the page, and that's these two-tone wheels. Now, Italeri, in their wisdom, show them on the color scheme drawing, so they're kind of gold in the middle and gold hubs / spokes and silver rims, but absolutely nothing on the instructions to tell you what you should be doing. So never mind. So
did you expect anything else?
well, there's also my written notes here where there are things that bits that they tell you to use that just aren't in the kit. So, but yeah. I'm enjoying it immensely. We've got the wheels, incidentally, were sprayed with Mr. Color Super Metallic Super Gold 2. Then I cracked out the Alpha circle cutter, compass cutter. I couldn't be bothered to load up the silhouette, and just made some very simple circular masks, and that was it. So I am looking forward to getting that finished off and delivering it for Telford. So
the circle masks always are the bane of my life. Those I've got those high Q. Is it high Q?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a full set of those high Q parts ones up there, and they're fantastic. In fact, I had to drop them into the headlight housings on the Audis because I painted the centers of them, and then thought I need to satin that, and I'll ruin the centers, so I masked them off. And our problem is that I need to go beyond the sizes they do at the minute, because the Skyline wheels, if I may, were chrome, and the centers should be that steel shade. And now I've got to mask out, but I don't know how well you can. So is that focus? Oh yeah,
that's good. Yeah,
blimey, that's unheard of. You see this raised lip just here?
Yep.
That is the edge of the part that should be black. So everything outboard of that should actually be chrome. So yeah, and they are 2 millimeters big, 2 millimeters bigger in diameter than the biggest size that the HIQ parts go to. Every time.
That's what I found today as I was going through all my HIQ stuff here, high Q, and brilliant stuff, but nothing big enough to mask those wheels, unfortunately. So
I've got one of the Despy cutters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is a phenomenal piece of kit. The scaling on it's utter rubbish, but the actual as a piece of kit, it's phenomenal. So I'm probably end up resorting to that and sort of guesstimating my sizes, because there is a lovely scale mold printed on it that bears no relevance to reality at all. So yeah.
To be honest with you, come Telford, I might invest in one of those Despy ones, because like I say, sometimes just loading up the silhouette cutter can be a bit of a faff. And if you just want to cut a simple circle, it's just that's it, which is what I did tonight. Incidentally, anybody can see that I am wearing my Halfords, Hanes mini T-shirt. God, I had so many copies of this manual. Do you know what, Ian? It says a lot for this T-shirt that I had to snip the label off it tonight, because this is the first time it's been worn. So, and before we get on with the news, I bought something today. Can you guess what I bought?
I'm willing to bet it wasn't an inflatable sheet.
No.
Go on then.
No. I invested in a dehydrator. The one I was just about to message you to say, could you send me that link again to that dehydrator on Amazon? Then I went through our messages,
found it.
The search. Yeah. There's the link. So for £44, I can use it for other things as well. I can certainly use it for drying herbs and things, but Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So I'm looking forward to getting that because I won't be painting this until the dehydrator turns up. So I'm hoping it's going to add a new dimension to my modeling. More importantly, Ian, it's a bit of kit that I've got that Drew doesn't have. So
it won't be long. Can I just, on the subject of Haynes manuals,
yeah,
a complete off section, can I recommend this one? If anybody, if you're interested in British racing aircraft between the end, or in fact all racing aircraft, but mainly Schneider Trophy aircraft, this is the book. It's a Ralph Pegram, and he is the man when it comes to racing Schneider Trophy aircraft. So I recommend that. That's an absolute corker. The rest of them can be pretty average, but that one, it very much depends on who wrote them. That's fantastic. That
I do like the Haynes aircraft manuals. They are, especially in the day job, can be very, very useful. Dave Fleming says there's 2 Despy circle cutters. I have the cheaper one. It's okay, but if I was buying again, I'd spend on the better one. So
that's the more expensive one, I believe, Doug.
Yeah.
MTC. So I got this when it first came out. I bought it from the Far East, but I've ended up adding on to it an alignment block and a centering tool because these things happen. But there you go. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to touch on what that probably costs over the time. But I must admit, it periodically gets used. In fact, more periodically. It gets pulled out and used on a quite regular basis, mainly, as I say, for masking wheel sensors and things like that. And a couple of sheets of Tamiya, the sheets of Tamiya masking that you can buy, where there's 3 or 4 in a pack. There's never less than a pack and a half of that on site because you just need its useful stuff. I did have a thing where I was using some of that, talking about Spitfire camouflage. I couldn't get a set of masks that I wanted, so I just photocopied the painting instructions and then cut it out, and there you go, instant masks. So yeah, it's good stuff, but yeah.
Right, we'll dive on to the news in a second, but before we do that, I haven't done this for a while. Just going to give a big shout out to people who tuned in tonight. So hello to Michael Scott, Russell Taylor, Nick Brown, Dave Swindle, Paul Voyle, Lee Suter, Kev Tinker, Anne-Marie Rial Gould, Aaron Veal, Rally Chefs Model Shed, Jim Altegott, Mike Williams, Keith, the mysterious Keith, Damian Mullen, Wayne Beatty, Shane Weir, good day, Shane, Linda Junkin, John Huston, Mark, I think we've done Mark Ryan, Dougal McGoogle, Stephen Kessel, Ian Goldstraw, Hobby Time, Tony Surridge, they're leaving. Bob Theron Hampton, Locks 9, Simon Lewis, Go For It Painting, scrolls down, Christopher Joseph Buchholz, who's probably enjoying the fact that he's not having to do one tonight. And yeah, that's pretty much it at the moment. So shall we crack on with the news? So let's start with Mobius. Explain what's going on here, Ian.
Mobius are one of the newer American manufacturers. They have been around. They've been around a while. They started off doing some what you'd like, some Aurora monsters, as repops and things like that. And laser pantographed and things. So, but they've expanded into cars. They did a phenomenal Hudson Hornet. They've done some really, really nice Chevy Novas, and they did I've built the Plymouth Satellite and the Plymouth Belvedere. They're beautiful. But of late, they've been concentrating on Ford pickups, and there is an enormous variation of those from them. F100s, F150s, F200s, and this is the one they were showing as a new event. This is a 1971 Ford F250 high lift. I guess you might be able to work out why it's called a high lift. This is the kind of thing that would be chasing the good guys across the fields in a film in one of the big Hollywood blockbusters, or maybe Forrest Gump being chased through the woods with this one. And it's that kind of thing. And a corking little kit by all accounts. Interesting, the chrome trim on the side is separate, so you can probably do a slightly more battered version. But all in all, that's a great choice. That's a really corking little thing. They are, I think there's another photograph to come. There are a range of these. One thing that is interesting, and since I sent you that photograph, I clocked what it is. The bottom right item on that picture, the one with the visor above the windscreen, is a 1948 Chevy Woody. I think I've got the year right there. That is the Galaxy International Models tooling, which has been acquired by Mobius. If they come out with the kind of distribution that Mobius can offer, which Galaxy International couldn't get, particularly into Europe and the UK, that for me is a surefire winner, because they were absolutely phenomenal kits for their day. They're about 15, 20-year-old now as a tooling, but they're beautiful. They did an Era sedan and a couple of other kits. So I'm quite looking forward to see if those hit the shelves over here. I think it's possibly Dave Coley that imports some of the Mobius kits. I don't know if it's an official importer. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. In fact, the work truck as well, the tow truck, that's another new one for this year. That's a really nice thing too. That's a proper American style towing truck. So there's no end of possibilities for that. There you go.
I have got to say that tickles me. I just think that it's got weathering potential all over it, doesn't it, Ian? It
just screams redneck, doesn't it? That
just a bit. Yeah. I'm also slightly distracted by that helicopter in the background, but I
don't think that's Mobius. Because I think in the at least in Japan, Mobius are distributed by Platts.
Mm-hmm.
Platts, of course, also distribute Hella, I believe Italeri, and a number of other brands, and they have ties in them with some of the Chinese brands as well. So Platts is Nunu, and yeah, I've got to get it right. Platts is Nunu, BMAX, Aoshima as well. So there's a real, if you look at some of the photographs that are from Suzuki, you can see that they're all on different sides of a very large kind of rectangular squarish display in little spots. So the Hella images we'll come back to in a minute, you can see they're on the same stand as those. It is a little bit of video capture.
Right, the next news item, it's a little Japanese company called Tamiya. Pow.
So that is the brand new, I don't know if it's on sale in Japan yet, but it may be about to go on sale in Japan. Honda Prelude. This kind of illustrates Tamiya's thing, their draw in
their
Japan.
gravitas.
They had 2 of these on their stand. Go, not 1, but 2. There's a white one and a red one. But the funny thing is, the only photographs I can find of the real car anywhere all come back to those 2, the white and the red car. So I don't know if it is yet in production, but we'll see. But yeah, Tamiya, of course, as they have want to do, are producing a new Corvette. And looking at it, it looks absolutely corking. I'm not sure whether the figure and the golf clubs and the luggage is coming with it. I'd rather hope they were, because that's really cool.
I wondered about that, and
unless that's part of the Campus Friends set or something like that, they're just posed with it.
Yeah, possibly. It would be nice if they did. But I think the thing is, Tamiya, by and large, don't really include figures with their car kits, do they? So
Actually, no, they do.
oh right, okay.
Their new Tool MX5 came out 10 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe more recently than that. I don't know. That had a seated female pilot, and she had a choice of left-hand drive or right-hand drive arms, which was a nice touch. And they've also got figures in some of their other older cars. So they rally Renault 5 that's been reissued, that and the Road Car have both got figures in. So they do periodically put figures in them. But I say that's quite cool. That I do like that. I like the car. I don't know much about it, and I'm not sure whether it's even going to come to the UK. But I think that's a pretty looking thing.
I'm not one to believe in powers of psychic precognition, Ian, but I get the funny feeling this may be featuring in our futures in the next couple of months. Few months.
I would never be disappointed. And if it's a Tamiya kit, let's be honest, it will fall together.
Mm-hmm.
And
there's the spread of parts for it.
I tell you what,
plats. I nearly said spread of plats.
If you look at, sorry, Jonathan, if you look at the white sprue,
yes,
one with the chassis on it,
yes,
right, there's the luggage.
There is the luggage, indeedy. I'm just having a look to see. There isn't a figure.
No,
that I can see.
The figure might be just a sort of 3D print or something like that. They've put with it back for scale. But I do, yeah. There you go.
Do get the luggage. How it, and do you know what? Do you know what I like about that, Ian? Is the fact that you can pose the boot open. So
yes.
Not most of the time these kits are semi curbside. So to have a little feature like that, yes, I like that. I'm not a car person, but yes, I am really looking forward to seeing that. So might have to flip a coin, see who gets to build that. It'd be you.
You said that about Porsche, not what happened.
Moving away from Tamiya, we are on to, we're on to Belkit from, are they from Belgium?
They are.
They are. They have a new kit coming out, and it is this.
It's apparently a phenomenal car. I've got to admit, I've fallen away from following the WRC Championship for a little while. So that's a cool little thing. And the built-up shot that accompanies that one, it just shows it looks really nice. Now, I've built a couple of these Bell kits over the years. I've still got a couple to do. I've got an Opel Manta, for instance, and I built their Polo that they did, their WRC Polo a few years ago. It's somewhat complicated, not what you would call a beginner's kit, but it's an absolutely phenomenal build for my kind of modeling. I loved every second of it. Sold it to a Polo owner at a show years ago. There you go. There you go.
That is quite industrial. That's quite steampunk, isn't it?
It is. It's lots of chunky bits. But I mean, under that is a Yaris, which used to be a small car, but I was sat behind one in a drive-through coffee shop queue the other day thinking, behind me, that's a Yaris. It's huge. So, yeah. Yeah, it's a lovely little thing. And a good parts spread again. But the interesting thing is that Bell kits have come out on their Facebook page and said, there you go, there's that, but we know you're waiting for, because they've been promising a Ford RS200 since Pontius was a pilot. And they've finally said, look, we are doing it, but we're having development issues and blah, blah, blah. But what they've also done is they've teased another classic rally car at the same time. And that is apparently imminent for telling us about it, and but we don't know. I haven't got a clue what that is, and I did ask, and I got nothing. So I'm just going to say, yep, fine, we'll get what we're getting. But as I say, the Bell kits, they are tooled in China, as most things probably are nowadays, and they are to a very high standard. And I don't think I've actually the first ones. They did a Fiesta S2000 rally car. One of the first ones. It was a battle to build, but they've got better and better and better, and every time they're a bit better to build. They're a bit nicer to build. They're a bit crisper. This thing looks like it could be an absolute surefire winner to me.
We've got some comments here, and I'm just going to ping this one up. It's from Tony Bork. I agree with him, actually. He says, Revell, please reintroduce the 1/16th scale dragsters and funny cars. Now, I agree for the simple reason that my late Uncle Roger was a big fan of these kits. I can remember seeing him building some of these, and I would love to. I've got to build a dragster. I've got to do one at some stage.
So we've had a conversation about this before, because these toolings do not live with Revell anymore. The vast majority of Revell's dragsters and funny cars, particularly the 1/16ths and stuff like that, are now in the hands of Atlantis. And Atlantis are slowly reissuing them, and they're doing a really good job. New packaging, new instructions, in the majority of cases, new decals. They've put new tires in them, which are a lot easier to glue and to use. And in a couple of instances in the funny cars, they've even tooled new glass, because the old glass tooling was not what it should have been. But they're cleaning up tooling. They're doing lovely work. They were at a show in, I think it was in New York Toy Fair recently, and they put a video up, and there's a couple on there. They have previously done Jungle Jim's I want to say Vega funny car in 16th, and they've done some others. But yeah, they are coming slowly, but they work on a much smaller budget, obviously, and hence a slightly slower progression than some of the manufacturers do. But you can't fault the quality of what they're doing when they're reissuing. It's just unfortunate that if you see them, you buy them. You can't guarantee that the next time you go, it'll still be there and you'll be able to still get it, because they do get snapped up because of the what's the word? I've lost the word. Can't say how, because of people wanting to build them because they've built them previously, and there's a word
demand.
Anyway, nostalgia effect.
Right,
yeah, the nostalgia effect in the, particularly I must say in the American market, where it's like, well, I built that when I was a kid, and my dad built that when I was a kid, and because Revell obviously in that period were a much bigger thing in the American market, particularly around the cars and the drag cars, because that's what they saw on the either on the TV or down the drag strip most weekends. So yeah, it's they're there. You just got to look for them, but you don't look for them in a Revell box. Nowadays, you look for them in an Atlantis box.
Well, it's on the big list of the 101,000 things I want to build this year. So
yeah, I've got a whole room. Yeah.
Right. Next. Well,
so
that's muscly, isn't it?
Yeah. So BMAX, the aforementioned BMAX Nunu Platts Ayashima conglomerate, whatever. I don't know how it. I've given up trying to understand how it works between them. Have got a release list across all the brands, which is huge. This is, and the black tooling behind it is this kit. So it's not that it's not ready. It's not a set of, oh, well, we might do it. This thing's ready to rock and roll. This is an E21 BMW 320 Turbo. This is the 1980 Zolder Deutsche Racing Machine. Not, I have to say, the E46, the label in front of it declares it to be. That's the E46. I can't get a clear shot of. I think it's off camera, right? Because it's a rebox with new decals and some new twiddly bits for the older. The E46 has been around about 5 or 6 years now. This thing's absolutely brand new. It's got the aero rear deck parts in it, so there's a variety of shapes and things you can do with this. Was sitting talking to Richard Middleton, my friend, the other day about this, and he produced over a space of about 10 minutes about 20 different schemes for this car, and I found some Macau ones that he hadn't got as well. So yeah, absolutely corking choice. Just lovely. Yeah, there you go. But that's the next one along. So that is the 2018. So we had the Pink Pig version of this kit last year. So this is a 2018 Porsche 911 RSR. This is the Rothmans tribute scheme from Le Mans. They did the Pink Pig tribute and this one. So basically,
isn't that the Rothmans? No.
Right. We'll come back to that one. Yeah.
Yep.
So that is the Rothmans tribute scheme from 2018. So you can't put Rothmans or anything appropriate to Rothmans on that.
Yeah.
That's how it ran. That has spawned immense numbers of decals and doodahs and wheels and stuff, 3D printed bits. It's a phenomenal little kit. I may have 5 now. And I'll probably get that one as well because that's the scheme I want to build. But yeah, that's around. The Pink Pig I've noticed on the shelves in the UK now. So it is out and about, and around the 45 to 50 pound mark because the Hong Kong dollar is a little bit below where it was previously. So that's quite good news from a point of view of exchange rate. Well, then what we got next? Let's move on to
Is it
that?
Yep.
So that is the I think the next picture is the red scheme.
Yep.
So this is just come out. This is Nunu's new BMW M4.
Yeah. Go on.
So I've got that on the bench, and it's an all new tooling. It's a modern car. It's BMW's big push for endurance racing, and also that's a DTM car. Now go back again. So, but what the second box release, if you go back to the first picture, next one, the one before, hello.
No,
that's that one. There you go. This looks like this is the second boxing now. That is, those are, shouldn't get me grammar right. Those are the Bathurst cars. And you'll notice the white one is racing with race number 46. So that is was driven at the race by Valentino Rossi, who's transitioned from motorbikes to endurance racing very successfully, although he didn't cover himself in glory a couple of weekends ago in Spa. But this is a big thing. There's probably, again, another 10 or 15 boxings of this with minimum change because the car's going through a development curve at the minute, which is quite steep. And they look like I've seen a picture of it which appears to show a different rear wing and some changes to the front aero, but obviously that's not difficult for someone like Nunu Platz to incorporate into the kit, as is evidenced by the new Evo 2 version of the Audi R8 that's just come out with a single sprue in it for the new rear wing. So quite pleased with this. Decals are corking, might have to have 2 just so I can build them both. Watch that race in its entirety. I was very, very tired the day after because it's in Australia, of course. But yeah, it's as Valentino Rossi's name is associated with it as well. It'll sell for fun, won't it?
Now that's the Rothmans.
So that is an original Rothmans scheme, yeah. But that car is the one that we talked about a while ago. That's the Paris-Dakar car that Porsche developed, and I have to admit that's so gorgeous. I love a Paris-Dakar on it. I mean, that's a Porsche 911 on stilts, just because you can. Then you're going to drive it across the desert at lunatic speeds. Yeah, great thing. Absolutely brilliant car. But this is a nice one. So a little while ago, one of the first big releases for B-Max and Nunu together was a Porsche 935, and it was a K3, one of the Kramer cars. They did the K2 and a K3, and they did them in a variety of packaging. And if anybody looks over my shoulder, they'll see I'm having a quick count up. There are 5 of them on the shelf behind me. This car I was trying to convert. This is Paul Newman's car from 1979. It finished second in class. Well, no, it won its class rather, I think. But there's a lot of changes to the bodywork of this. There's been a couple of attempts to do it in resin where they've changed the back area and the rear wing, and they've completely missed the fact that the front wings and parts of the front bumper are radically different to the other cars. But this lot have come along, and did you put the picture of the sprues in the video screenshot, Jonathan?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Right. So the shot, the bit up top right is a collection of the revised parts for it as well. There's other bits as well, but yeah, they've actually done the conversion parts to change the rear wing, the rear quarters, and the front wings to reflect the correct body. It's taken them 3 or 4 years. They did announce this some time ago. I'm very pleased that it's come to market. One other thing I should point out, on the bottom of that box is a little yellowish orange sticker with a red and a green bit on it. That same logo has appeared on the BMW M4, and it says decals in Italian ink, which I presume is a translation for these decals are by Cartograph, because when I've looked at the decal sheet in the kit, they are very, very familiar in look. So I'm hoping that's a step forward for them, but I'm not guaranteeing that. I don't know.
And next, we're jumping up a scale, aren't we, Ian? We are doubling the size of the models here, and well, that's a bit gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah. So a couple of years back, again, B-Max did a Lotus 99, camel yellow Lotus 99, a Senna car, and they have decided to follow it up with a 1/12 scale McLaren MP44. Now, the interesting thing is, of course, that we have a McLaren MP44 in 12 scale from Meng. I don't know which is going to be better. And I think I did have a Meng one. It hung around my loft for a period of time, and then I disposed of it. Not because there was anything wrong with it. More to the point, I was debating where I could put it when I'd built it. But this one's interesting that they've put wet tires in it, and they've put bits in it that weren't in the Meng kit, and it looks like they've gone a little bit beyond where the Meng kit. Now that might explain why it's been a little bit longer in gestation than was expected. So, but then again, so was the Lotus. The Lotus hung around for a while, so we don't know. But that's yeah, I mean that's a bold decision to go head to head with Meng in the market. We know what their market presence is like nowadays. That said, yeah, I've kind of got a gut feeling which way I'd go. I had a very bad experience with the Meng GT40 in 24 scale that still gives me the shivers. So yeah, there you go. And that's it with the bodywork off. And by my references, I'm pretty damn sure that's a spot on. Yeah, I like that. There's a bit. Now this is now they've now come and gone, right, okay, so we're doing MP44, and while we're at it, we're going to do 2 more absolutely iconic cars in 12 scale. This is the stuff of legend. This is the first Japanese car to win Le Mans. That is a Mazda 787B, as driven by England's very own Johnny Herbert, and it's a rotary powered screamer. This thing can be heard at the start and finish line as it's changing gear into Mulsanne hairpin. It's wonderful, but it's also an absolutely massively followed model. So from a kit choice decision. I'm surprised it took this long. That is the obviously these. I think these are 3D printed from the renders to give something to show. But you never know with these. To see how long it is before it comes to market. That it looks like a full detail chassis to me, or as near as. We will be able to work with it, no doubt. But yeah, a phenomenal car. And as you know, because you've seen we've previously covered the amount of reference material I've got on the damn thing. It's one that's very close to my heart. But yeah, phenomenal car. And then they did that. And that made me go, oh, because that is a 12th scale Porsche 917 Longtail. Again, just the stuff of absolute legend. And I believe, and I need to double check my references, that's going to be the number 3 car, which is commonly known as the hippie car. It was purple and green with white pinstriping in like a flowing pattern on it. And if you've ever watched the film Le Mans, the Steve McQueen film Le Mans, there are a number of instances where that thing goes leering through the back of the shot at full tilt, and it's a masterfully impressive car. But that said, in 1/12 scale, that's a big model. Yeah, won't stop me desperately wanting one, that's for sure. And again, it looks like from the chassis shot, looks like it's full detail, because the 917 had a tubular frame chassis, and that's all in there. And I know enough about these cars to say that there isn't much that you'd need to add to that chassis to get the basic shapes and structures right for you then to absolutely super detail it. But that, yeah, you'd be spraying. You're going to have to learn how to spray fiberglass as a finish. That's the only thing.
I've got to say, Ian, that scrolls up. I saw that, and well, my first thought was,
yeah,
shades of. Yeah, it's just got that kind of. It's just got that hang about. There we go. That's what it's.
Yeah,
shades of.
I'm actually trying to find the picture. I have a picture of it somewhere, which will illustrate that feature, but I won't pick the wrong book. It's just wonderful, and again, it's something that we've been calling. See, the problem with these 12 scale kits is that marketplace for quite some time, particularly with things like the 917 and the 787B, has been dominated by Model Factory Hero. The Model Factory Hero 917, sorry, the Model Factory Hero 787B is pushing £800. If BMATs come into the market and they pitch that in the 180 to 250 mark,
how much again, Ian? Did you say that kit was?
Somewhere, anywhere between, depends on where you buy it from, anywhere between about 650 £800.
Right, we got a banner for that.
I've got my first one.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's a full resin, white metal,
resin,
photo etched, and you're talking about something this kind of size. It's a big one. So you're not gonna leap into building 10 of them a year. So a lot of people buy that, and they'll do that. I have the 787. I had a spate of buying the MFH kits back when I was richer and famouser, and unfortunately, I got to the point where I thought, no, I can't do it with them, so I sold them. And the 787 is an impressive piece of kit. I have to say, if you can get a plastic one for like a third of the cost, you're not going to say no, are you? And that's kind of where we're possibly going. If BMATs are going to pitch these in that, because I've seen the Lotus 99 for around the £150 to £200 mark, depends on where you're shopping. I think Jadlam had them on special a while back at around the 150, 160 mark. I might be wrong there, but and so if that comes in at around the £200 mark, there'll be a lot more people capable of going out and going, right, I'll drop 200 quid on that, than will ever go, right, I'm going to spend £800, £600 or £700 on that resin thing. But yes, I know it did, Paul, by Duncan. Yeah. But it's, I think it's a matter of scale. If they've pitched it at the right price and it's as good as it looks just from those drawings, you can't feel that they've got the shapes right, and they are getting better at that. I mean, that 917 chassis, that tubular chassis in that 917, that just gets me so excited. Just a car I absolutely love. My friends will tell you that I obsess around the 917. I've built some really esoteric ones over the years, Kyle Lamy car and things like that, which are just, and it's just a beautiful thing. My question is, are they going to then come off the back of that with the short tail version, which is the much more common car? And obviously that will expand the range of what's available. Incidentally, when I talked earlier about the 911 tribute car and the RSR, the Pink Pig, that's the original. That's what that car paid tribute to. So I'm trying to find this picture of the long tail. So when these cars were first produced, they were produced in a longer, streamlined format. And you know, I'm trying the one that I think they're aiming to produce is the 1970 Le Mans car, and I'm trying to know which chassis it went up. So there's the short tail version where you see a much more cropped rear end, which aerodynamically was actually better than the long tails in a lot of instances. That's Sebring 1971. But they did get developed, and you know, they didn't stop developing the car through its existence, and they were a gorgeous thing. But it really was an era that's kind of, at one point, the speeds were getting just beyond the pale. I'm on. So
didn't Airfix do a 32nd scale 917?
Matchbox did. Matchbox did. Matchbox did one in silver.
It was orange and blue.
Golf livery.
Let me just do Airfix.
No, Matchbox did one. Matchbox did a Martini one. It was one of the DRM cars.
Yes, they did. Airfix did do one. Let's just call up. Here we go. Here is an image. There we go. Share screen. I wish StreamYard would make this easier. I know. I'm always whinging about it.
I'll tell you what, while you're doing that, this is the M4 body, which is, I haven't done anything with this yet. This is literally, it came out of the box. I've been concentrating on working out the assembly process that I'm going to use for it. That's rather lovely, actually. Nice and shiny. But yeah, that's kind of shows. Again, this is from that same group as they're doing these 12 scale kits. You know, if that's kind of what we're going to get on a 24 scale BMW M4, it'll be interesting to see how well they treat the 787 and the 917, because this is lovely, really, really nice. I'll give it a coat of grey primer in a couple of days, and then have a little look at any part lines and stuff. But so far, there's nothing on that which in any way concerns me. There you go. Yes, okay. That's a long time ago. That is a long time ago, when I was but a wee lad and I would buy them in Woolies. Yeah.
Now they're also doing bikes as well, aren't they?
Now, they previously did Kevin Schwantz's World Championship bike from 1993, a Suzuki RGV, and that is their latest announcement. Interesting choice. That's a Yamaha YZR M1. That is a Valentino Rossi bike. Have you sensed a trend yet? They've clearly done a deal. They've clearly got a Rossi license because they've done the Audi R8 GT3 Evo 2, which he raced. Got to get this right. I've got the damn thing on the shelf. He raced it in Imola in 2022. And then they've done the M4, so there's a Rossi version of that coming. And they're doing this. Which is one of Valentino's World Championship bikes. Although, interestingly, the picture in the artwork is actually Colin Edwards driving the Tech 3 Yamaha satellite team's bike. So I'd forgotten Colin rode for them that year until I saw that picture. I have a number of bikes of his. Yeah, and as Paul's just pointed out in the comments, it bridges the gap. Because Tamiya did a 2004, 2005, and then a 2009. The 2007, and Paul might correct me here, the 2008 is basically an upgrade of the 2007. It wasn't a new bike. The 2009 was a heavily modified one. So it's kind of one we've needed, and Tamiya never issued it, and none of us really kind of understood why. There was clearly some issue around licensing or something, and it never came. So for them to suddenly come into the market with this in 12 scale, correct-ish. Thanks, Paul. So that's a surefire seller. I mean, if I turn this round and say, Paul, how many are you going to buy? I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be 4 or 5 or 6, because if they get the cowling variations that changed mid-season, so you'll have an early and a late version. So you've got an early and a late version for both riders in the factory team. You've got an early and a late version for both riders in the Tech 3 satellite team. And then if you can convert it to the 2008 bike, it's that kind of, this is how we can. And I think realistically, I can't see that would in any way fail them. And a lot of it's going to come down to price, as it always does. But with these new BMAXi Platts kits are coming in that £40 to £50 mark, you get a lot of kit for your money. And they come. The M4 came with masks. It's come with very, very nice decals. I have got the upgrade set for it, which has got a very nice, substantial Photo X set in it and 11 sheets of carbon fiber decals. I tell you what, if you used it as a weapon, you could beat someone to death with that pack of carbon fiber sheets. It's unbelievable. And you drop it on your desk and there's a thud. And, it's that kind of... Oh, God, no. So I've just read what Paul's written. So, if you look at what they're doing from a value point of view, it's really, really good, and that's all power to them. I believe they're tooling in Macau. BMAX are based in Macau, so it looks like they're tooling in Macau. The distribution is being handled in part by Hobby Easy, I believe, out of Hong Kong. Platts are doing some of the Far Eastern thing. There's a lot going on about this and that and the other, and it leaks into the Aoshima stuff that we're going to cover in a little while as well. So they really are making a major effort, and it's very nice that the vast majority of their focus is around cars.
And of course,
as
BMAX, Nunu, and Associated, distributed in the UK by
the Hobby Company, I believe.
Yeah. Hasegawa. There's a name from the past, isn't it?
It's funny you should say that, but now don't get that. That's a New Tool Hasegawa kit. And it's not just any old New Tool Hasegawa kit. That is the Skyline R30. So this is another one like the 2007 that bridges a gap, because the KGC cars, the original Skylines, and then you jump straight to things like the R31, R32, R33. There's, to my knowledge, there's not been a modern tooled R30 before. The thing is, I really like the R30, so I'm very excited about that. And you know, I do like a Skyline, and that really, I love that shape. It's such a car of its time, and that's just so cool. And it's an early model. There, I believe there's a later version coming as well. It's just lovely. Yeah, just a really nice kit. And looking at it, nicely decent. It's good. It's not massively parts heavy, but it looks decent enough. I can't see that I'd be disappointed with it. They've also reissued their Mini in another form as well, I believe. And there it is. Now the Hasegawa 124 scale Mini, classic Mini, is, and I'm going to say this out loud, and those of you who don't want to hear it can put your fingers in here. This is better than any other 124 scale Mini in the market. Stat. End of conversation. Knocks the Tamiya one into a cocked hat for shape. The Revel one doesn't even get in the same room. This is the kit.
What about the Fujimi one? That's the one I'm building.
Yeah, anyway. So thing is, yeah, the only problem with this is it's a bit spendy. They're well above 30 quid a shot. But then again, go on eBay and try and buy a Tamiya Mini right now. Yeah, I saw one go for 60 quid the other day.
Well, funny that, because somebody in the comments was
about one, I believe, yeah,
made a comment about trying to get hold of a Tamiya Mini. Lost it now. Do apologise, but yeah.
John Huston's just asked, not if you want a Mark 1, don't invest in anything else, John. It's coming. There you go. Sorry.
Yep. That's a beautiful finish on that car.
Isn't it lovely? It's a nice colour as well. It's a solid, I think it's a proper Leyland solid blue, and I seem to remember seeing them in that covering period. But yeah, I mean, that's a lovely thing. And the wheels are nice, that little mini lights.
I'm getting all kind of nostalgic again now.
The GTO that's on the shot at the background is quite cool as well. But that's the only bit of it I can find in a single photograph. You're down to your last, God.
John Huston says, I'm down to my last 12 Tamiya Minis.
Well, I'll keep you busy while you save up for some Hasegawa ones, John. There you go. I'll tell you what they're spending. But there you go.
Hello. So I've suddenly got a bit Peter Sellers here, but hello. They're doing a 24 scale Peugeot 205 GTI. Now, it's nice to have Hella back in the game. And it's nice to see them doing new kits. I think, to be brutal, Ian, you and I less than impressed with that box art, though.
That box art is so meh. It's ridiculous, isn't it? That is appalling. I mean, just so many better illustrations of a Peugeot 205 GTI you could have used. I'm praying that's just a promo box, but I've got the gut feeling it isn't. That is an awful bit of artwork, and I'm sorry if whoever, because doesn't the guy that does some of the Airfix stuff work for Hella as well? And if that's one of his, I'm really sorry. But this just does nothing for the car. It's just not dynamic or exciting enough, is it? But on the terms of dynamic and exciting, I have seen photographs of the sprues for this and close-up photographs of the sprues for this, and good God, am I looking forward to building it. I actually owned one once. I had it for about a year. Oh, what a wonderful car to drive. It was fragile as hell, but it was a wonderful car to drive. But yeah.
It's made of rust and glass.
No, it didn't rust. It just had a habit of not running periodically. But I when I had it, I absolutely loved it. But then again, I traded up from a Dolomite Sprint,
Oh God, that really is rust and glass, isn't it? A Dolomite
it
Sprint.
was
Yeah.
beige as well.
Oh dearie me, how 70s.
Jim Altergott's just asked whose M3 lead tank is that in the background. I don't know, Jim, but this reinforces a comment we made earlier. That, I believe, is Platz's stand. In fact, it is, because you can see there's a Platz logo on the picture behind the Hella.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that is the Italeri Veltro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this reinforces what I was saying about Platz. Platz are a major distributor for the Far East for European products. So Hella, Italeri, and various other people are distributed in Japan by Platz as a concern. So honestly, those M3s could be anybody's. They really could. I get the feeling they're actually demold. You know, the cartoony kind of things, but I'm not sure.
I think they are. Yep. Next news item.
Well, that's the M4 build-up kit. That's the goes with the earlier pictures of the M4.
With the earlier pictures, right? I'm with you.
Yep,
Sorry,
No,
we got those out of sequence.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think
right.
I think So this is it. So coming back to what I mentioned, Aoshima earlier. Aoshima obviously are. We know they're linked in again with B-Max. Aoshima's initial involvement with B-Max was that I believe is that Aoshima were wanting to do some. They'd done the McLaren Longtail GTR Le Mans car, and they wanted to do some more things with McLaren, and they were working on 20 scale MP42s, which I was involved with visiting McLaren on their behalf. But they eventually came out under a B-Max box, and I believe B-Max did the tooling for them. So I think that's where the whole thing started. Aoshima worked with B-Max, begat B-Max. B-Max then worked with Platz and blah, blah, blah. And New came along. So I think that's kind of that concept. But Aoshima have done a brand new deal to produce Fast and Furious cars. These are not reissues of the AMT kits. They are either very heavily modified versions of existing Aoshima tooling, or they are new kits. The three that we can show here are quite important cars if you know your film. So that is Brian's Mark IV Supra from Fast and Furious, the first car he drives, I think, in the series. It's you're never going to lose it in a car park when you've painted it. Let's just say that. The second one, the silver car, that's Brian's Skyline R34 from Too Fast, Too Furious. So that's got NOx bottles and all sorts of loveliness in it. If you watch the film, it's also got blue underlighting, which Zoom On are doing a kit for underlight set for it, so you can actually make that glow underneath. Underglow, that's the right word, underneath with the correct blue. But I think that's based on an existing tooling, because they did a very nice C West R34 at one point, and I think that's a modification of that. And then the third one, and the one that I will be chasing down very quickly, is that's Dom Toretto's RX-7. It's an FD35. That's from Fast and Furious. So the Supra and that are from the first film. From what I've seen and from the other details I've gleaned, they seem to be concentrating at first on the first two films.
Mm-hmm.
When they were proper car films, and Tokyo Drift. I'll include Tokyo Drift in that for a proper car film. But after that, I kind of lost interest in the F&F franchise. But the first two or three were proper car films, and yes, the pink S. Someone's just pointed out Yuki's pink S2000 is apparently on the bill as well. But that's a really good choice, and again, it will appeal to a market that's not necessarily bought a car kit before.
Well, there we go. Viewer David says full marks to the team for getting a non-car builder very excited about car kits.
Thank you, David.
There we go.
I think we'll take that as a proper compliment. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a mark.
Makes a very good point. It says first two films make sense as that's what they will have toolings that exist for it.
Yeah, but the thing is, Griffith, my understanding is that Mark IV Supra is a new tooling because their Mark IV Supra, which came out a while ago as a veil side, if I remember correctly, was absolutely appalling, and it certainly isn't what's in that picture. Because I've built a couple of them in my time, and it was a battle. But that's I love that. That will make me very happy.
Mm-hmm. And the final, what were the 3D printed bits for, Ian, or was that
right? Okay, so the 3D printed bits are for the M4. So my M4 came direct from Hobby Easy in Hong Kong. In the parcel was that 3D printed replacement. The kit exhaust on the left, which is 2 parts, split vertically, and it's, don't get me wrong, it's a lot better than some I've seen. A lot better than some I've seen. When you've got it, if you glue it together, there's very little cleanup on the joins and stuff. It's really quite neat. But that 3D printed part is in a different world. It's not even a different world. It's in a different solar system. It's phenomenal. And I found some pictures of the real part online, but they were all copyright, so I couldn't pull them. And the thing weathers up in lovely shades of burnt metal, so purples and blues and oranges and yellows. Oh, hello! So I'll be all over that like a rash. But they come from a range company called Fat Frog Models, which is basically Hobby Easy's 3D printed range. They do a lot of bits for the Nunu kits. They do grills for the Audis, and they did a chunk of parts for the Suzuki race bike that they did last year. I've got caliper upgrades and radiator upgrades and all sorts of loveliness. And like you say, they are a direct. It's not like you have to modify things to use them, because they can be designed in such a way that they're just a direct exchange for what there was in the kit. And like that exhaust part, it fits into the same locating pin as the kit part, and it's engineered to fit perfectly, and it does. It fits perfectly, and so yeah, I like that's where I like 3D printed parts. Something that I can just clean up, paint, fit to my model, and viola.
You mentioned exhaust. This is the exhaust for the Itinerary / Eschi Ford Escort, and it's got to be. I do like to mention Eschi, and it's got to have like a bright metal at one end. So that was the entire thing was sprayed with reaches over to workbench. The entire thing was sprayed with Tamiya LP1 gloss black, and that was allowed to dry for about an hour. Then we went at it with some of their LP48 sparkling silver, because everybody's been saying that it creates a nice shiny kind of like
I started that off.
You did, yeah. Nice chromy finish, and do you know what? It works. It's absolutely brilliant. So
I've recently been doing little bits. Remember the Porsche that you did me some masks for? I'm still working on that at the minute. So I was working on the carburetor intakes for that. Oh, Mr.
Compressor wants to join in.
I'm sure he's welcome. And that's those. And that, like you say, it's just a bare plastic, blaster gloss black, let it dry overnight, dust on LP48, and that's what you get. You really can't fault it for a ready to use out of the bottle chrome. I'm struggling to find anything better at the minute.
Do you thin your LP48, or do you just spray it straight from the bottle? Okay.
No. There's no need. You can't. I understand you can. a good friend of mine thins it with Mr. Color Rapid Thinner. But then again, I thin most of my metallics with Mr. Color Rapid Thinner. I don't thin that particularly because it's quite thin anyway. I will thin I will thin LP11 very heavily. If you thin LP11 about 60-40, 40% thinners with Rapid Thinner as a basic silver for car bodies, for chassis rails and stuff like that, it's brilliant. Absolutely.
Just having a look, see if I've got any LP11. I don't think I have. Oh well, no worries. Right, Ian. Any other business?
Other than to say to Paul, no, I didn't order the M4 wheels, Paul, because if I had, I'd have ended up with about 10 sets, and it gets mighty spendy when you do
that. And yeah, Richard makes a very good point, and that LP paint is rock hard, very resistant. Try that with your AK or Alclad. Indeed.
That's the point, isn't it? Yeah, the lacquers when they dry are like rock, and we can't. You can't handle the majority of chrome finishes. And I've got, being a car modeler, I've tried many. But that, since I've discovered that, it's like everything else is kind of redundant. I do still fall back for a little bit of brush painting on this stuff. The Molotow liquid chrome in a refill, because you just drop a drop into that with a brush, and you can do pin lights and things like that. So it's quite a nice. That's a fallback. But I've got SMS Hyperchrome, I've got Alclad Chrome, I've got AK Chrome, I've got, and they're all very nice.
Sorry, I didn't know. See, I didn't know that Molotow do a refill.
Yeah,
didn't know that. And I've just gone on to a well-known online retailer. Yeah, you buy it from that. So,
Hobbycraft.
What Hobbycraft? The big.
Yeah.
The big. Really, they sell it, do they?
Yeah, they sell Molotow pens, and this is a refill. Well, my Leeds one in Leeds did, because I think this is where that one came from. This is my second.
That's interesting, because we've got a Hobbycraft up at Cribbs Causeway, and I haven't been there for a couple of years. So,
yeah, but that's how I bought. Sort of a 1.5, 2-year-old now. But yeah, they are very strange, a Hobbycraft. I don't kind of understand them, but there you go. But they do what they do, and apparently it works for them, because they're still going, aren't they? Like they got into, they like to have the same range all the time or something. So if Airfix, if they had a range of Airfix kits, and then Airfix stopped making a particular kit in the lineup, there'd just be a gap on the shelf. And I don't get it. I think they kind of miss an opportunity. There's a lot of those big chains that try and do that. Hobby Lobby in the States are a little bit like that. They carry a lot of AMT car kits, and there was a period in time where you could every day, you had the app, and every day you had a 40% off voucher, and you could walk into a Hobby Lobby and buy an AMT car kit for like $12. I went in, and they were doing the AMT 57 Ford in a car, in a blue one. The Flashback was the car. It was a reissue of an older artwork, and they put the decals in, and they'd done a bit of work to put it back to somewhere near what it was. And they'd had them for a while. There were loads of them about, and they were knocking them out at $7.99. So I went, I'll have a couple of them. I got 40% off. I paid like four or £5 each for these things. I'm walking out with a carrier bag with these two kits in, thinking, how? I spent about $10 for what was effectively over here probably £100, because they're £45 over here now. And it's, but yeah, each to their own, innit? Yeah.
Top tip here from Richard, who says he feels the Molotov pens. That would be a cocktail for disaster. I feel the Molotov pens don't last very long. Paint eventually grittens and loses the chrome look. The refill is much longer lasting. Right. Trip to Hobbycraft, I think, and I'm going to have a look and see what they've got. So I haven't been to Hobbycraft. Like I say, I haven't been to Hobbycraft for ages. So
last time I was in the one in Leeds, they were actually building. They had some Italeri, and they had some Academy, and they had some Tamiya, and I think our friends in the fire escape trade may have made their way into their buyers' eye line, but but they're always full price, aren't they? That's the problem. And that's car modelers of all kinds are tight. Let's be honest.
On that note, a big thank you to Ian for joining us tonight, and also for all the prep work he did for tonight's show. He put together a list of everything. He supplied me with the pictures. All I had to do today was format them, and that was it. It was so. Thank you, Ian. That's that made life so much easier. So much easier. So. On that note, big thank you to everybody who's tuned in tonight. I hope some of you who perhaps don't build cars that often, and I don't build cars that often, but I do now. And so I hope it's inspiring some of you to get out of your comfort zone and build a car, for goodness sake. I think we're going to have a month, Ian. It's going to be build a car month. Automobile August. How does that sound?
If you can convince Manson to join in, I'll do it.
No. He'll be too busy looking up dehydrators and things. So anyway, on that note, big thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Big thank you to Ian. Fingers crossed, we'll be back next Sunday for a Sunday service. Hopefully, Ian, you can join us for that as well. Until the next time, as always, just remains for me to say thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and we'll see you very, very soon. So bye for now.
Bye.